Tuesday. So at the top of this show, we're talking pop-off politics. Of course, we're looking into ways on how city government is spending your dollar bills. Here with us this morning is Investigator Mario Diaz. It has been a busy week.
You have no idea, brother, how busy it's been, how busy it's going to get for Houstonians.
Yeah.
It has just been incredibly busy. We got, a mayor going in, a mayor coming out. It's just all over the place right now.
With that said, talk to us about what the next few weeks will look like before that new mayor gets into position.
Well, we're going to have city council still. We have to have city council, okay, because that's just part of the way it works. Again, you got one mayor going in, the other one's going out, but he hasn't left yet.
Yeah.
And Mayor Turner doesn't officially leave until
January.
About stroke of midnight.
Okay.
On New Year's Eve.
Oh, okay.
And then the mayor's out. So great tenure for him in his mind, but he's out. Mm-hmm. In comes the new guy. So what happens next is you have city council. We have this week, and we have next week, which is right before Christmas.
The holiday,
yeah, I'm hearing from some that's not usually the case. You don't usually do it the week before Christmas. So we got two, and we got big agendas.
Yeah. Okay, so take it away from there. We have a big agenda. Do you suspect work will get done in these next couple of weeks?
I would say that most people are looking at it with a very skeptical eye.
Yeah. Because the outgoing mayor is going to want to get these items taken care of.
And there's
credit.
Yeah, and there's 74 agenda items.
Wow.
No, 77 this week. It was 74 last week.
Okay.
I mean, these are some of the longest agendas that we've seen. And yes, there is a lot of it. And Mayor Turner's made it quite clear. I am mayor until the very end, and I'm going to be working to the very end. And some people are talking about particular agendas, and we're going to highlight one.
Let's go.
You ready? It's going to be agenda item, 78 agenda items, by the way, this week. But the one we're highlighting 76, right near the end, okay? I'm going to read this to you. This is an ordinance amending revenue agreements involving SSP America, IH, ITRIP, Parodies, at IH, LLC, Latrell's. Okay, we're talking about concessionaires. But there's one big one. There's one big concessionaire that this is really involved with. And it's called Arias. Now, why does Arias sound familiar? Remember Arias?
It's part of the food fight.
Yeah, that's part of the food fight.
The epic food fight.
And that involves who?
The airports.
It involves Arias and Pappas.
Pappas.
Yeah, Pappas family. And this was one that we exposed at KPRC 2 Investigates as a deal that a lot of people had questions about. If you remember, we showed Chris Shepard admitting, hey, I'm not part of this proposal, but still Arias said, oh, he's a part of it. Yeah. And then we saw how Pappas was being pinged for only being in a Houston airport, not like the national guys, but what they didn't tell everybody was that Pappas actually generated more money within the Houston airports than anybody else.
And had been there for, what, 2 decades?
Yeah,
Something
and they
like
generated way above the amount.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow this Arias group came in and they gave them the contract and they voted on it. And now this agenda item deals with the powers of the next mayor. What they're trying to do is ask the city council agenda to say, hey, or city council to say, hey, if you want to cancel a contract in the future, you're going to have to take it to city council, okay? And some people have questions about this, right? Because the mayor has certain powers.
Yeah.
I mean, Mayor Turner told me loud and clear when he came into office, hey, I didn't like the airport plans. I ripped them up, tossed them, and we reset those plans. He said that loud and clear to me back in 2018. That's the power of the mayor. So if John Whitmire, in comes the new mayor, says, I don't like this deal. He can do the same, but no. They're going to change that, allegedly.
In the next 2 weeks, hopefully, at this meeting.
But I can't explain it as good as other people can.
So you brought in some reinforcements.
I brought in a guest. I brought in a special. This is a first.
For pop-off politics.
We've been doing this now for how long?
Months. Almost a year. Almost a year.
We just got good enough to where we could bring in a special guest, right? We finally got our act together.
Don't get too confident here.
About 2 weeks ago, we brought in our special guest, and we test ran this with someone that we knew, with Amy Davis.
Right, Amy Davis.
But now the pressure's on.
Yeah.
Because we've got ourselves, I mean, I feel like the Dodgers signed Ohtani. I'm like, I got this big free agent coming in, right? Yeah. But this week, we got our first guest. And let's bring him in. His name is Councilmember Mike Knox.
Hey, everybody, how we doing?
Good morning,
Have you
sir.
seen an introduction like that before?
I have not. I hope I can live up to the hype. You know, there you go.
Hey, let's get right to the business here, because Zach
Sure.
and I have been talking about this. Your thoughts on this agenda item?
Well, first of all, the mayor is trying to, at the last minute, try to protect some of his friends over there at Arias and the Arias contract. He's doing this with a couple of other issues as well. But what the deal is, during the campaign, the incoming mayor had made some comments about wanting to eliminate the director at the airport if he appoints his own director. In all of our contracts in the city, there's a clause in there that's called for cause or convenience. So we can cancel any kind of contract for cause or convenience. And so theoretically, the new mayor could come in, reappoint a new director of the airport, who would then cancel that contract. They'd have to redo it and would give the Pappas family another shot at it, basically. So the mayor wants to short circuit that, wants to go around that, and so what he's done is put an item on the agenda that will change the way we've done business forever in the city of Houston. In fact, it does violate the city charter.
It does.
Yeah,
That's
and we'll
the
get to
question
that in a
Zach and I were
second.
asking.
But what he's going to do is he's going to remove the power of the director to cancel those contracts for cause or for convenience for just those 4 contracts and not all the rest of them. Now, the problem is our city charter in Article 7, there's sections in there, Section 10 and 6.
And very quickly, for the folks at home, a city charter means that this is basically the city's Bible. This is how you have to do business according to the city. That's called the charter. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like the Constitution of the city.
There you go.
So it identifies, for example, the roles and responsibilities of the elected officials and so forth. Well, in Article 7, it says that city council members shall not may not or cannot, but shall not engage in any administrative function. Our function is totally legislative.
Zach and I, that sounds pretty.
So what that means is
mature.
we can authorize the contract, but the contract is handed over to the director of the department to manage. Now, the penalty for violating Article 7
Yeah, what is that?
is the unseating of the council member who violates the deal. So this bill, or this item that is on our agenda, is going to require every single council member who votes to do anything on this to unseat them immediately.
Interesting.
No good. No,
Yeah, so this is...
If this was a soccer game, you'd be getting a red card right now, and out you'd go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, voting on this isn't a problem.
Great analogy.
But if they ever take a vote to eliminate a contract, they're meddling in the administrative function of another department, and consequently, they will then have violated the Constitution.
That's a heck of a checks
is.
and balances, isn't
It
it?
is.
Hey, you vote on this. Oh, you're not supposed to. Get out.
Yeah.
You're out of here.
Now, see, we can vote on this one, and we can approve it, but if anybody does anything about it, and I think the mayor knows this.
Administrative, yes, I agree.
I think the mayor knows this, because by doing that, he's removed the mayor's opportunity to have his director fire the current contract, and he's also prevented council from effectively voting to cancel it also.
You know, we've exposed this issue last week, and we asked some very serious questions about, is this really about undercutting an airport director's power? I mean, usually if you're an airport director, you go to the mayor no matter what. When you're
Well, let me tell you this. I promise you that at no time during Mayor Turner's career has he ever even an inkling of an idea of handing council members this kind of power. He would not do it if he were still the mayor.
Yeah.
This is why he never saw any of this happen while he was mayor.
Right.
Because it is the mayor's prerogative. He's the chief administrator of the city, and all of the directors work for him, and he can tell directors to do whatever they want because he's the mayor. He's the CEO, basically, of the city. So, but we can't. All we can do is legislate. We can make policy, we can approve things, we can approve contract, we do all this stuff, but we don't the day-to-day work.
And is this to you specifically targeting the Arias deal? I mentioned this last week.
It's clearly...
There's been dozens of contracts within the airport system. Why not make this a blanket approach?
The only contracts that will apply in this case are just those 4 concession contracts at the airport.
At the airport system.
The rest of the contracts at the airport, we're not going to have any say in it. They're going to maintain that control.
Yep.
Any other contract in any other department, we're not going to have a say on. This is clearly designed to protect Arias and the contractors that are currently out there.
Well, we talk about the outgoing mayor. There's the incoming mayor.
Of course.
And Zach, you know, we're KPRC 2 Investigates.
Yes.
So we got the new mayor's reaction to,
On Saturday?
on this agenda.
On Sunday?
No, on Sunday morning.
On Sunday morning.
We sat down with him.
Yeah.
I asked him specifically about this approach within the city council. Let's take a listen now to hear what John Whitmire, mayor-elect, had to say.
And I think at this stage, when you're a lame duck, you ought to acknowledge there's an election and you're in transition, and you ought to wait for the new administration. I would hope council recognizes that.
And that was John Whitmire we were just listening to, talking about these next few weeks potentially being what some people call a lame duck, saying it should be up to the new administration to make these types of rules changes.
Well, actually, there's another one that's interesting that just popped up this week, and that is there's a sunset. Councilmember Kubash, when we passed this bill, did a sunset on the fee that you pay to have your garbage can, and it's due in May. But now it's on the agenda to eliminate the sunset so that it won't come up anymore. And, you know, 'cause there's all kind of things going on right now where the mayor is trying to interject his will into the future administration.
Yeah.
All right. Before we let you go.
And as you might guess, I'm going to be opposed to it.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, you're on the way out.
I am.
You've
Yeah.
served.
I'm on the way out,
You've served
too.
the city quite well. I mean, obviously, I think anybody who serves the city deserves that
capacity,
kind of.
yeah.
Yeah, you served well. You served for 8 years. They didn't kick you out of office, right?
I didn't
What your
get
thoughts
fired.
on the outgoing mayor, and what can Houstonians expect with the new guy?
Well, I think the outgoing mayor is a good guy and all that, and he's done what he thinks the city needs to do. He and I have disagreed on a number of occasions, but, you know, I respect the position. I respect the man. I think he's done fairly well overall. We've had some issues, but I think the new mayor, you're going to see a continuation of the same kind of approach. I mean, when you look back at the campaign that Sylvester Turner ran to get elected, what did he talk about? Potholes, infrastructure, crime. And this is the same thing that John Whitmire has done, and it's been effective. And so he's going to be a new mayor. I don't expect a great deal of shift in the ideology of City Hall. We're going to still focus on infrastructure and transparency. Hopefully he'll do a better job at the transparency part. And that's going to be interesting. We also have an added little quirk because of the election regarding the city charter change that allows 3 council members to put something on the agenda around the mayor without the mayor having any say in it. That's going to create another dynamic, which will be interesting to watch in the coming 4 years.
We've examined that quite a bit here on Pop-Off Politics. You know, he asked you about your message or your thoughts on the outgoing mayor, incoming mayor. What would be your message to people who have supported you throughout your time in office? What do you want them to know this morning?
I appreciate the citizens of Houston, you know, having the confidence and trust in me to help represent them on City Council. I've taken that very seriously. I'm going to be leaving City Council, but I'm still going to be around. You know, I'm going to be
still going to be around.
Look, I'm native Houstonian.
You got your tennis shoes on?
I love my city.
I have a feeling you might still be running.
Well, it could be. I don't know.
Running for something.
The future holds. I'm not done serving my community yet, and I'm going to look forward to that in the near future. But yeah, I think I've done a great job. I think I've done a wonderful job at representing the city of Houston. I've tried to do it fairly and impartially and, you know, bipartisanly, if you will. And so I think I've done pretty good at that. And I think the people of Houston appreciate it. I certainly appreciate them. One thing that I really learned, as a policeman long ago, I learned that policemen never get invited to the party until after it gets out of hand. Right? But when you're on council, you get invited to the party before it gets out of hand. And what I've discovered as an at-large council member traveling all over the city is that every single Houstonian in every single neighborhood is working very hard to create safer, cleaner communities to raise their children in. And I just have a greater, deeper appreciation for my neighbors as well as what we're trying to do in the city of Houston. So,
well, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Mr. Knox, it's a pleasure. I think this was a success.
Yeah,
our first guest.
Say we landed, landed the vessel safely.
Okay.
right, get to work.
Okay, good. I got to go to
4
work.
weeks to go. We have you step aside over there. We're going to wrap up this segment here, but yeah.
What else is going on? Anything that you're working on today?
Well, we're going to be talking about this agenda item. You know,
Yeah.
you're going to hear more from Senator Whitmire about this because a lot of people have questions about how do you do this deal? And you know, we've exposed so much within the airport system. You're going to hear what the mayor-elect had to say to us. And again, it's been one heck of a weekend, heck of a week so far.
Have you had any days off?
Kind of. I mean, I came in on Sunday morning. When we covered the election.
A late night Saturday.
This is what we do.
Yeah.
This is what we have to do because it's obviously we're the fourth largest city in America. You're having a change in administration, a historic change. You saw the absolute landslide victory that was claimed.
30-something%.
Right. And you know, and I spoke to Senator Whitmire on Sunday morning. He gave the first interview to KPRC Investigates. Already we're starting to see a shift in the strategy with the mayor's office of the mayor-elect because I will be honest with you, I've been here since 2017. Not once has the current administration ever said, hey, Mario, we're going to sit down with you and answer these questions.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we've always tried to do. So when people see us going after politicians or going after the mayor's office, you have no idea that we've been actually emailing the mayor's office for about 5 weeks or 4 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 weeks. And in fact, you know, we have one last investigation that we're working on right now, and I've been emailing a certain city director for quite some time, and lo and behold, that city director just happened to be at the campaign event on Saturday night. So you'll have to hear what he has to say, but it's all kind of tied around this whole object here, which is called the Houston airport system, and there has been so many questions, and a lot of it is because of the work that we've done with the KPRC 2 Investigates. And, you know, and I see my colleague, she's down there, Amy Davis, and there's been a lot of talk about obviously the water system and drain and the bills, and you heard Mayor Whitmire talk about that, Mayor-elect Whitmire. And hey, I made it quite clear to him on Saturday night. He said, hey, I want to thank Amy Davis, I want to thank you, Mario, for exposing everything that you guys have exposed. And I said, hey, we're going to hold you accountable too. And we made that very clear.
Beginning.
You know, we're the umpire here. We're the umpire. We call balls and strikes on both sides.
Mr. Knox was mentioning transparency. You know, there's a lot of weight that comes with transparency,
you know,
and that's what people look for.
Well, I will tell you this. I mean, how many times, Mike's over here to the side, how many times do we hear Sylvester say, you know, there's nobody that does transparency like me, right? I mean, we've heard that.
Uh-oh, he's putting the mic back on.
Like every other 5 minutes, you know, 10 minutes, 20, it happens a lot.
So, but here's what I did with Mayor Whitmire. And I spoke to him and he said, Mario, you guys are going to get the information from me. I'm a different individual. You have to just believe me. I said, and what's going to happen when we get an AG opinion from the mayor's office, which is what we've been accustomed to, stating that we are going to seek an opinion from the Attorney General. He goes, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You will get the information you want from me starting on day one. And guess what?
You'll be holding him to it.
At 12:01 a.m. on New Year's Day, there'll be an email sent. And we'll be having certain items that we want right away.
Well, we'll be waiting. We'll be watching.
That was a practice exit? Well,
You did well.
Failure to lodge, and you're back. Okay, well, we appreciate you stopping by. As always, if you have questions, concerns, you can reach out to Mario at...
Oh, I always get this part.
I know.
I'm like, where are you doing?
Well, let's try to make it a turkey. Three in a row. Come on.
mdiaz at kprc.com. mdiaz at kprc.com. All right. Always a pleasure.
Good stuff.
You know, my mom was commenting on you the other day.
Was she? Hopefully she was saying nice things.
She gets up on this. She goes,
right?
She says, you guys have such great chemistry.
Aww.
I'm like, I know.
Shout out to Mario's mom.
You know, like we're Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah, right?
You know?
Some sort of shtick over here.
So anyway,
some
it
duo.
works out. All right.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.